So, Richard, just a week off, the biggest 5 days in racing for you and all your team here.
The cruelest 5 days is how I would put it. Yeah,
but you've got 30 going, around 30 going over the week. It's obviously a festival that you must really look forward to and target as well.
it is, and what's more, it's the pinnacle of our sport, and it's extremely competitive, and it's extremely hard to win. Invariably, you end up getting the sort of average half-hour gap between your next disappointment and kick in the guts, but people want to be there, and that's so good, and you win there, it's kind of makes your year. So we're hopeful of one winner. 4 or 5 is a possibility, so is 0, but we go there with some excellent chances, and this year it's not just about the Giro, there's a lot of other chances as well.
So it kicks off with the Queen Anne then. Chindit is a horse who's acquitted himself very well at that sort of level. He's facing a tough task, but what do you think of his latest run in the Lock-ins?
I think arguably that was his best run, and we wanted to get beat because he wasn't good enough, not because we were too far out of our ground or we were trying to hold him up or ride him for a place. And that question was answered. No, he's not, and we're taking on the same horse again, which is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is a sign of madness. But this horse does have a massive day in him, and he's won his Group 2s, so there really is no point going anywhere other than Group 1s. He proved last week he's absolutely up there ability-wise. Just have to assume things go right. He's not very complicated. I do think the straight mile will suit him more than the round mile, which is where the St James Palace Stakes was last year, and he was a bit unlucky in that. So, although Baid is there and be very hard to beat, he will frighten a lot of the also runs away. So, I'm very hopeful he'll run a massive race. He has to run the race of his life to even get near him.
Look into the future, would you be sort of keen to try and stretch him out over a little bit further?
No, we've thought about that, and we nearly did it. But he's just getting a straight mile. When he's ridden handy, he's just getting it. He's getting it very well. But I'm in no urge to go further. I just really want Bailly to get gone somewhere else and move on, and then, we can kind of fall into place.
And looking at targets further down the season, you tend to have quite a few horses that you campaign internationally. Would he be a horse that could fit into that category in the sort of later stage of the year? Yeah,
you've got the Moulin, he ran very well last year in the Jalamara, very well. And all those options are available to us later on in the year.
I'm thinking Australia.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of, there's a race down there called the, it's not the Pegasus, it's the Golden Eagle.
Yeah.
Worth about 6 or 7 million quid.
Beat Le Bon, of course.
And he was 4th in it with a terrible draw. It's only for 3-year-olds. We nearly went there with him last year, so he can't go this year, but we might find another one like Lucelle. Might be hard to beat out there on fast ground. So, there's a few of them we'd be thinking about that for. And Chindit, you'd love to think you get an invitation to Hong Kong or a Breeders' Cup, but he's got to prove it first.
You touched there on Lucelle, who could be a possible horse for overseas, but you've got him in a couple of races at the meets. In the St James's Palace, is that the way you're looking at the moment?
Yeah. I was staggered with his run in the Guineas, and he looked like he needed the mile. I didn't really think he'd get it, but he looked to me like he needed it. Why he messed about in the gates, I don't know. I can't explain that. And I don't want to overgate him in the meantime. I'm going to put him in next week. Hopefully he'll be fine. But he missed a gate a mile and the race was over. But he picked them all up and looked like the horse to take out of the race. So that was an extremely pleasing run. And he goes to St James Palace, hopefully with a very good chance.
I think I spoke to you after he ran in the Greenham. He's a horse that likes it rattling quick, so you wouldn't really want any more of this wet stuff, would you? Yeah,
as soon as there's any give in the ground, he's kind of loses 20 pounds. He goes from 115 to 95. He has won a Gimcrack, he has won a Champagne Stakes, and he's run extremely well in a Classic, and I think he's the perfect horse to take to Ascot, providing it's fast ground. If it's not fast ground, he won't run.
Is he a horse that sort of surprises you a little bit in how good he is on the track? Because I think he went offered a big price when he won sort of at your class.
When he won first time out, I didn't think he'd win it. We were putting him on the lorry the day before. I said, I can't take that to races. Look hairy. I said, let him go and have a run anyway. And he won very well. And beat another good horse, Tim Easterby, he was telling me the other day. And he's running the Guineas. You know, I really didn't see him finishing the race like he did. He had no choice but to do that after he missed a gate, but I really didn't think that's what he would be about. And it looks to me like he wants that mile.
So the other Group 1 on the card is the King's Stand. You've got Happy Romance in that, and also the Platinum Jubilee.
Yeah.
Where are you looking at the moment?
I think I'd like to go to the 6 furlong race. She ran unbelievable races in Dubai and Saudi, picked up a lot of prize money. Owners are very happy, and they're very keen to have a go at one of them. Quite keen, typical of them, to want to have a go at both.
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
what about the option of that? Yeah.
And she's had a nice break, not through design. You know, she just twisted her joint just going into York, so we had no choice but to give her a bit of quiet time. So she's had a nice time. She looks a million. She's been on our new spa, and you know that's 2 degrees of salt water, and she loves it. And her joint has never been better, and she's in really, really good form. I just don't think we can go to the 5 on the Tuesday and the thing on and the other big race on the Friday or the Saturday. I mean, I had to choose one. I think if I had to choose one, it'd be the 6 furlong race, and it's worth a bit more in prize money. Who said that? What?
But she's been a phenomenal mare, though. To think how good she was as a 2-year-old. She trained on as a 3-year-old, and as you said, her runs over in the Middle East prove that she's just
a dreamboat. I remember ringing the owners after her first run and she got beat. I was like, thought she'd run a bit better than that. But I mean, they were good. You look back on that race, Newmarket, it was a very, very good race. Then she won a second time at Sandown. Then she won a super sprint. She won the York Sales race. Then she came back. She won a Group 3. I think she won the Hackwood. Oh, as a 2-year-old, she won a Group 3 as well at Salisbury. And she's been an absolute dream, you know, and a real pleasure to have around the place. Anytime she's racing, everyone knows her name. You know, belongs to like a, you know, good family of, I don't want to say normal, but, you know, workers and people that just said, we want to buy a racehorse and have a bit of fun. And my God, they've had some fun. Have her. Every day she runs, it's like a family wedding for them. And when she gets beaten, in fairness to them, they take it pretty well. Yeah, I don't expect them to like it, but, you know, they take it well and they love it. And she's a pleasure to be associated with for everybody.
And sort of, if you exclude extreme conditions, she's pretty versatile from a grind point of view, really, isn't she?
She is, yeah. I'm not sure she likes it very heavy, but the owners don't think she does. I don't think it stops her. I think on Champions Day she ran a very good race in heavy ground. Probably her best race up until that point. Yeah, and she'll be bang ready for the Golden Jubilee, and I think she'll run very well in it.
Well, the
Platinum Jubilee, sorry.
The Platinum Jubilee, yeah. Well, you should know the way to pronounce it. I mean, you are, of course, a royal trainer.
Yeah.
The big race for the 2-year-olds, of course, on the first day is the Coventry. You came very close with Threat a couple of years ago. You've got another chestnut representing you this year in the shape of Persian Force. 2 from 2. How excited are you about him?
That's ridiculous. You know the answer to that question, Brett. Extremely excited. You know, he's the best 2-year-old I think we've had here for a long time. And he showed that since day one. But I've been to the Coventry many, many times with horses like him. And you finish 5th or 4th. Threat was 2nd. Been 2nd in it loads of times. But I'm very hopeful this lad has everything it takes. And he does everything very naturally, very simple. The most gorgeous looking horse. And as far as I'm concerned, he has the ability to win a Coventry and more, hopefully.
Would he be slightly forward or show more ability on the gallops than Threat did at this time last year? Because I know, again, you were very confident that he would go close, if not win the Coventry. Yeah.
When he won first time, he sort of confirmed to us that we thought he was a little bit, I'm not going to say special, but a little bit, you know, it could be anything. And when he went to Newmarket and beat Odds On Shot very well, I thought, oh yeah, he is. And then his work kept picking up after that run, and picking up and picking up. And then he went to the Coventry, and what was he beating ahead? Oh, absolutely gutting. Never forget that day. But, you know, those days make you stronger. And if you don't have those days, you can't celebrate the good ones and know how special it really is. And we've done our days of those, hopefully. And this fellow would be the best chance we've had for years.
And would there be any I was to say he's unexposed. You've only seen him twice. But is there anything, in your opinion, that you think he might be better with the underfoot conditions? Is he better on quick ground? Or
Yeah, I think quick ground is what he wants. I do think going to Newbury, my only worry was wondering whether he's a 5 furlong horse or a 6 furlong horse. At Newbury, he looked like he needed 6. And I know Andrew fancies his horse quite a bit and likes him quite a bit. And Jonathan Palmer-Brown, that owns him, likes him a lot. And they like him so much they're going to run theirs in the Coventry. So they're having another crack. It will be an extremely good Coventry this year. And if I win it, it'll be the best Coventry for 30 years, Brett. Is that clear?
So we could have another Camphor Cliffs on our hands, who knows?
Oh, yeah. Do you remember the day he won? It was nearly an embarrassment. It was like 8 lengths. Hit the gate. Yeah, I'd love to. I don't think this horse is the sort to go and win a race that far. I'd love to think he was half as good as Camford. I'd be happy. But I think he could be, yeah.
Okay, let's sort of go through in day-by-day order. You've got loads in the Hunt Cup on the Wednesday. Yeah. Dawn Liberation, Eternia. I know this is Stetian Prince and Dingle. Yeah. Of that sort of group, which are you looking at?
They're all on the periphery of. It's going to be hard to get in that race this year. Tahitian Prince, a very capable horse. Dingle is running very well. Oh, This Is Us. We'll try and get there, but we might leave him a little longer. Dawn of Liberation. Handicapper's not my friend. He put him up from 92 or 95 to 108. Basically saying you would have won the Britannia by 4 or 5 lengths. And I don't think I'd have won it. I might have won it 4 or 5 lengths. And so now we're in an impossible position where we can't win handicaps. And I'm not sure if we're good enough for group races, but let's see. He's a very talented horse, but I think handicaps are a little too competitive for him now off his new mark.
On Thursday, big race of the week, of course, is the Ascot Gold Cup. You've got MOJO Star. We haven't seen him yet this season. Any particular reason? Well,
he had a hard year right up until the Arc last year. He was second in 2 classics, the Derby and the St Leger, and he's only won 1 race. The Ascot Gold Cup is a long trip, but I think this is the right horse for that sort of trip. The reason you haven't seen him is A, he had a hard year last year, and B, we wanted to give him a bit of time before this year. He had a little niggle, so he had to miss the Coronation Cup. And he looks like a real cup horse. He got a 1.6 miles as a 3-year-old, no trouble whatsoever. That too will be a good race. He's had a long time off. He's been to Kempton every week for 3 weeks now, and he's getting there. He's going to need it in terms of match fitness. The only way he's going to get match fitness is with matches, as I say. But we're getting him as close as we can. And a run will bring him along an awful way. I know going to the Gold Cup, having your first run is not ideal, but we don't have a choice. The owner, Amma Racing, he wants to be represented at the big meeting. And that's what these horses are for. And this is his dream horse. He's named him after his father. And the family all go. I mean, he is a member of his family, and he wants him on show and running well. And I can't blame him. That's why you buy racehorses. And I'm very happy to take a chance.
I mean, he ran a great race, didn't he, in the Arc? Which would you be looking at that again, or the long distance cup or races like that?
He did. I wish we'd ridden him a bit closer, but we didn't, and that's not Ross's fault at all. We just wanted to kind of snake our way into it. It was a very good race, and we were coming back there after an English Derby, an Irish Derby, and a Leger in like 10 weeks. That's a long lot of miles in a relatively short period of time. So, he's entitled to run to 95%, not 100, but he's a nice break now, and he's buzzing.
Is he quite easy to train?
When he's absolute dreamboat. Yeah. You should have ridden him this morning. He's a gentleman. He's the nicest moving, kindest horse to have around. You'd let your kids ride him, no problem. I wouldn't, because he's worth a lot of money. But I mean, he's a gentleman, and he's almost remote control.
And going from the stayers to the sprinters, the other end of the spectrum, we've just seen Eraz on the gallops this morning. I know you were quite pleased in the way he's beginning to really look well in his coat now, and he's all guns blazing for the Commonwealth. Yeah,
he hasn't come in his coat like we expected him to, and like the other horses have. They've all been a little bit later this year, and I've always thought he's an extremely good horse. You know, the way he works, but physically he's a god. And he's very unlucky at Newbury last time. The amount of people who come up to me and said, oh yeah, he'll have a very good chance in that big Group 1. He won his maiden there 4 or 5 lengths. And it comes at the perfect time for him. You know, he's in great nick, his coat's starting to come good, he's working great. And if he gets beat, it'll be because he's not good enough, or not for any other reason.
Heridia, unbeaten 3 from 3, showed a great attitude at York last time. The Sandringham for her?
Yeah. Andrew Stone, St Albans Bloodstock, who owned the filly. It was a big debate whether we went to the black type or to the Sandringham. And quite rightly, he said, Royal Ascot winner is as big as any black type race. And I think he's right. You know, we can do that in time with the black type stuff, but off her rating now of 98, 97 or 98. And so she's going to go there. She surprised me that she won the other day. She was taking on older horses. It was only her 3rd run. She's inexperienced, but she coped with that easy, so she must have a fair bit left. And I think she'll go very close, I hope.
And you wouldn't be concerned about the trip as well, because the way she finished at York, she was...
Yeah, I think if anything, it will suit her more.
Yeah, okay. I mean, how good do you think she could be?
I'm hopeful she could be very, very good. You know, if you're going to say she's a listed or a Group 3 filly, then she bloody well ought to be winning at Royal Ascot in a handicap. If you know what it's like at Ascot, it's very competitive, and she's a huge chance, and she's a darling to have around too.
On the Saturday, obviously we've got the Jubilee as well, which Happy Romance may go there. Fancy Man's in the Hardwick. That
looks like being a little derby, doesn't it? I mean, it looks like being probably the strongest race of the meeting. He's in great nick. I was gutted I couldn't run him in the all-weather derby. What they call it, the Easter Derby, or Easter Classic, because he'd had those runs on the all-weather. He'd won his listed race. He's now in great form. He just wasn't eating right going into the Derby. I just thought I wouldn't take the chance with him at that stage of the season. It'd take a long time to get it, to get over it with him. And so he gave him a bit of a break. He's back now, and hopefully he'll run a massive race, but he'll need to run the race of his life to be placed in that. I'm not sure we'll go there. But then again, it's Royal Ascot, and people want to have a go, and you can't blame them.
The Wokingham, obviously, always a tricky race. You've got 2 in it at the minute, and Mum's Tipple off 96. And
he'll run big, yeah.
Ventura Tormenta's also haven't seen for a while, but how well treated do you think he could be off 100?
He won the Robert Papin, as you know, and he's just had his issues since. He's a very, very heavy horse, which makes it hard to keep him sound, but he's very quick and extremely useful, and a ready-made stallion. If we get there with him and it's nice ground, he could run a good race. Obviously, he's going to be a bit rusty, but he's a Group 2 winner, so he probably can afford to be a couple of pounds off his best. And Mum's Tipple has come right down, and we all know what he can do. You see that race at York. That was supposed to be the last day that Enable was running in England. And walking out the racecourse, they weren't talking about her. They were talking about this Mum's Tipple. And he's never basically got back there since. But he's now coming down to a point, he's got his confidence. And if you watch his last run at Ascot, it's about the first time he's run straight all the way to the line. Normally he hangs left. He's hung right as well on occasions, but he runs straight as an arrow. And that has to be a great sign. And Martin, his owner, and his mum and his mother-in-law, they've picked this race out from a long way back. So this has been the target for a long time, and he's been kept for that.
Just go back to Ventura Tormenta. With horses like that who we haven't seen for a while on the track, is it just a case of waiting to see if they retain the ability on the course, or does he still show the same level at home?
Well, as you can imagine here, it's hard to get him off the bridle because he's extremely fast, faster than pretty much anything, and you don't want to do that much with him. But I hope he has, and I know he's still quite a keen horse, and he wants to please, and that's a very good sign.
Let's just spin through a few others, and you can let us know what the plans at this stage are. Aristea, she's a real tough filly, won at York last year, a good run at the same course at the start of this tour as well. She ran a
super race the other day, we were delighted. She had a long time off, and she now will improve massively for that run. At the moment, we're looking at a race at Newcastle, believe it or not. I think I can't remember what the name of the race is. But I think that's a more likely option than Royal Ascot. You know, we can tiptoe around with her. She's a very good filly. And her owner, Bunny Roberts, is extremely keen to keep her in training and have a go at some of these big races. And got to admire her for that, because on her day, she's a very good filly, this.
Looking at a few of the 3-year-olds, Subarumi, and I've written in my notes, couple horse handicap at 1:06. Is that where, have I got that good for race planning or not?
We don't think he gets a 1:06. But they're not going to go steady around Ascot.
There are a few new races as well, aren't there, this year, Ascot this year?
There's a 1.5 miles, I think, and that's probably his race. You know, if they go a good gallop and a 1.5 mile handicap, he'd be quite hard to beat. But he keeps getting there easy over a 1:06. And then all of a sudden, he's legless the last furlong and a half, and he goes from 2nd to 7th. You know, if he a good 1.5 miles, and that's his gig, I think.
Okay. Gurbus has been gelded.
Yes.
Since his last run.
He needs to pull his finger out. You know, he's behaved pretty badly at the races up till now. He's an extremely talented horse, and he's a full brother to Persian Force. You know, when we bought him Ross Doyle bought him at the sales with Kia. He had issues and. I don't care, I want him, says Ammo Racing. And that's what we did. And that's how we bought him, being on the back of Gubbas, being a good horse. But Gubbas, we have just gelded him. That will sort him out. And then we can get a plan going forward. I think we'll miss Royal Ascot anyway. But, you know, we'll see how he is the coming weeks. But he's got to sort it out, because he has the ability. But he never misbehaves at home. I moved him from the Heritage Yard to the Everley Yard, which has helped him. You know, it's a new look, it's a new place, you know, new sights and sounds. And I think that's worked. And if it has, he's going to have a very good second half of the year.
Okay. Bosch.
Yeah.
A really nice horse. You know, done nothing wrong, has he, at all?
Yeah. He got 7 the other day, which I was pleased with. By design, he was just a little far out of his ground, ran on and... You know, but ran well. I think we might put him in the jersey as well. Well, we haven't got to a final option yet, but we want him to go to Ascot. The ground has to be quick. He's a fast ground horse, and he's in great form. You know, I think next year might even be his year. Then you're looking at Stewards Cups and things like that. There's also a very good race at the July meeting, 100 grand 6 furlong handicap for him and Gisburn.
That was my next.
Two very similar horses, and one of them should be taking that option up, or both, because it's kind of the quiet 3 weeks after Ascot where you can go for a few of these, you know, and the horses that have been to Ascot quite often bounce.
Let's look at a few of the 2-year-old fillies. Power Dress made a winning debut at the Craven meeting at Newmarket.
Yeah, very nice filly.
Ascot for her?
Yeah, Ascot for her for the Albany, along with Land of Summer of Julie Woods. Power Dress did it very well at Newmarket. She was big. She'll improve massively. She's been great at home since, and she's grown.
Did you fancy her to win first time out?
I thought she'd run. It didn't surprise me that she won, but she wasn't one that I said, "Oh, this will win," you know, because they don't. But I thought she'd run well. And it didn't surprise me the fact that she won at all, and she won very well. And the second filly that was second that day has already run very well in a listed race afterwards. So, yeah, very hopeful that she's a very good filly and run well in the Albany.
And Landon, you just touched on her again, would go.
Yeah, she ran well. You look at her Kempton run. That was a damn good run. And she kept going, and she gave them £6. That was a much better run than, you know, just watching the race. Much better run than you think it is initially. And she's tough, very tough.
Okay. 2 other Turos, again, we're not sure whether they're going to go to Ascot. Rich, who bolted up at Newbury.
Yeah. Julie, obviously we're going to let the dust settle since Newbury, which it hasn't yet, believe it or not. It was a great day, that, for Julie and Chris as well. Because we've been watching that filly since January. The way she moves, she's just a little bit different. And she comes down quite a bit. And we've driven round the inside of the gallop with her, and you see her move. It's just... So we've been doing that for a long time, keeping a lid on her. And it's nice, in the end, the day you do go to the races, she gets to win, and win very well. They were strung out. You know, there was a long way between each horse that day. And we were cock-a-hoot that the filly had won, number one, and number two, she'd won with authority. And Ascot's going to be extremely tempting, but it's the first time I've ever seen Julie Wood say, I don't want to go to Ascot if it's not the right thing to do. And I was like, oh my God,
Which suggests you
normally,
feel
as
she's...
soon as but before they even come in the winners' enclosure, she's got the Royal Ascot mapped out. And this time, because she's a little bit special, this filly, and this time you know, we're going to wait and see. If she goes there, that's up to Julie. It's her filly, it's her toy. But she could be anything, and Julie knows that. And it'd be interesting to see which way she goes. But
must be nice when you get owners like that, though, who aren't putting the pressure on you to...
Job satisfaction for people like that is what it's all about. You know, she had a double there, and I've known Julie for years. She's the most loyal owner. She's had them here, you know, as long as Michael Prescott, 25 years. And it's great when you can reward somebody that has rewarded you, you know, all your life, and she gets it. All she's in it for is a good one. And she's had quite a long time between drinks from her last good one to now. And she loves it, you know, she appreciates it. She knows how hard it is and what a thankless task it can be. But I think no one enjoys it quite like she does. And she wouldn't stand there and drink six bottles of champagne, but she just gets it. She loves the sport. She loves coming down here. She loves the people, and I hope she's got a good one. I know she has.
So if you do skip Ascot, where might you go?
Well, you know the answer.
There's a race at Hannon, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, called the Star Stakes, which I educated you with the other day. And that is a 7 furlong fillies only listed race. Funny enough, it's the race I think John Gosden won with the Cheveley Park filly last year. That was favourite for the Guineas. Sometimes it's a little bit of a forgotten race, and then some years you turn up there and there's the first 4 in the Guineas. But this filly's a good filly. She'll win it.
Okay. Revisit, who put in a good performance on debut at Lingfield at the weekend.
Yes, delighted with her. She's not the biggest filly, but she's always shown a bit, and she won well, and she'll improve massively for that. If ours win first time, they're pretty good. You know, by design, you want them to improve from run to run to run.
So would Ascot come a bit quick for her?
Yeah, and you know, it's taken her this long to get to where we are now. We don't want to blow it all and just go and throw her in at Royal Ascot to have a runner. I think Side Banana obviously is a patient man, the own Night of Thunder, and he's very keen to let you do what you think is right with the horses. So I think we'll miss it, you know, because we want to miss it, you know, not for any other reason.
Looking at a couple of the colts, Dark 30, another winning debutant for you.
Now I thought he'd run well, but he did win nicely at Newbury. He'll be in the Coventry. I think he qualifies for the Chesham as well. We might go down that road. Martin Hughes will be very keen, probably to run him in all 3. But you know, he's definitely an Ascot horse. He's a very, very nice horse, a classy looking colt, and you know, the right type for Ascot.
But you often talk about your horses needing, or the 2-year-olds are needing their first runs. You don't perhaps get them cherry ripe first time, but you have had so far this season quite a few first time out winners.
Yeah, that's great, you know, but they have to nearly be group horses now to win first time out and go on, as in carry penalties. Yeah. And if you're not a group horse, you kind of get found out and you end up badly handicapped. And 97% of horses are handicappers. So it's very important that you give yourself a chance to keep improving, you know, and give yourself a chance in nurseries. You know, novices are worth about £5,000. Some of these nurseries are worth 75. And
another 2-year-old colt who was probably quite unlucky not to win first time at Goodwood, but then got the job done nicely at Ripon. Do you know what it's called? Should Have Been a Ring. Yes, we're going to try and get him back for the Super Sprint. He came back from Ripon just a little bit sore. So we have to go easy on him. He's in the spa every day. And our water treadmill is coming in 2 weeks. So he's going to be on that flat out, once in the morning, once at night. And we're going to try and get him back for the Super Sprint. He'd take a bit of beating in that. I think he's quite useful. Savannah Gray seems to be able to get a quite sharp 2-year-old on the ground, and he is definitely that. He missed the gate so far at Goodwood. You know, he's never at the races. It's almost a waste of time, but it didn't surprise me. And Joe Fanning liked him a lot as well when he won on him at Ripon. Okay. Let's just look at a few others for the other races. The horses had one run for you, finished second at Nottingham. Behind a nice horse of Godolphin's, Lassadud, well-bred son of Lahadud, of course. Yeah, so he might struggle to get in a Britannia, but you never know. I was very pleased with his last run. He looks a nice horse for handicaps going forward anyway. You might think something at Goodwood, is it the Golden Mile now? That might suit him.
Pure Dreamer is a horse who's unbeaten this year. He's won 3 now, and we've been very pleased with him. But we always thought he was our Coventry horse, and we didn't quite get him to the track in time. But now he's coming right, and he's going up the handicap in leaps. There is a race there called the Buckingham Palace Stakes, which is won by our horse that won the Bunbury Cup, and this horse is very, very similar. But I don't know if he'll quite get a mile, but the Buckingham Palace Stakes is 7 furlongs, and that might be tailor-made for him if he can get in.
TACARIB Bay?
TACARIB Bay goes to the Jersey. Very pleased with him. He looked to me like he didn't stay in the Guineas. You know, he's travelling very well at one stage, but he's a very decent horse. I'm hopeful he could run very well in the Jersey Stakes.
So we've been through pretty much all of them. You know the question I'm going to ask you.
1, Persian Force.
Well, yeah, I was going to say without Persian Force.
Without Persian Force.
Yeah.
Like those bookmakers that bet without the favourite now. What? That's irrelevant.
Which is the other horse
No,
you're looking
why without
for?
Persian Force? He's running. He's my best chance, I think.
Okay. Well, are the bigger prices in the handicaps? I know you said Mum's Tipple.
Heredia.
Yeah.
Huge chance. Mum's Tipple. And each way chance. You never know which one's going to turn up, but he's pretty decent. Miami Girl, you haven't mentioned. Just because she didn't run well in the listed race, do not write her off. Or if you do so at your peril, because she's way better than she showed. She was very impressive first time. She goes for the Queen Mary, and the gates are going to open, and we're going to let her roll. None of this holding up and upsetting her, and her being too keen. Come get me. I'm sure there'll be all sorts of fancy Americans coming over that are the fastest thing since I don't know what, but don't forget, the faster they go, the faster they stop and come back to you as well.
Mm. So there we are. Miami Girl wins the Queen Mary. You're off to Miami the week after all Ascot. Easy
One
peasy.
winner I would take, as it's so hard there, and it's such a big thing if you do have a winner. Could win 4 or 5, I doubt it. 2, I'm in a bonus.